So I was falling down a bit of a Google Maps rabbit hole at 2 a.m. last night. You know how it is. And I was looking at this empty patch of ocean and thought, there has to be something that goes on there, right? So I kept scrolling until I got these coordinates. I hit the coordinates on Google and found a match for Point Nemo. The more I looked into it, the weirder it got. This place isn't just a symbol for in the middle of nowhere, it's a literal space junkyard. There are billions of dollars worth of orbital trash dumped there. Alright, so let's look at this together. This is Point Nemo. It's what scientists call a pole of inaccessibility, which is known as a geographic point farthest from a coastline, representing the most remote location on a continent or in an ocean. You see these islands? Those are the closest bits of dirt. They're 2,500 kilometers away, which is around 1,600 miles. Putting that into comparison, that's the same length from New York to Denver, or if you're European, Portugal to Poland. And that's just the distance to see a tree and perhaps some seagulls. If you would by chance find yourself at Point Nemo, the closest human to you is likely not on Earth, but 400 kilometers above you on the International Space Station. It's a level of isolation I usually only achieve when I try to start a conversation at a party. Now it's not just lonely, it's a total biological desert. Because of the way the currents work, no nutrients get in, which means no fish, no birds, absolutely nothing. It's just 4,000 meters of deep water and the constant mindless sound of waves hitting more waves. There's no engine noise, no animal calls, just the ocean basically talking to itself. Even thinking about a place like that existing gives me an existential crisis. Like imagine being an explorer back in the day with your wooden ship, getting lost there? Phew. Anyway, I started thinking, why do we drop the space scrap here instead of leaving it in space? It's big, it's empty, who cares? Well, I looked it up, and apparently, if we don't clear a space junk, we're doomed. It's called Kessler syndrome. Imagine your bedroom floor is covered in Legos. Now imagine those Legos are traveling at 17,000 miles per hour. That's low Earth orbit right now. If a dead satellite hits another one, it shatters into a million pieces, which would keep circulating the Earth. Eventually, we'd have a trash shell around Earth that would shred any rocket we try to launch. We'd be trapped here forever, guys, grounded by our own garbage. Which coincidentally is exactly how my landlord described my apartment last week. So I thought, why don't we then just send it into deep space or the sun? Makes sense, right? No, turns out that it's actually safer and cheaper to let gravity finish the job and just drop everything back to Earth, to Point Nemo. The satellites are moving very fast around Earth, so controllers simply slow them down and the air starts to pull them down until they fall. Most of it burns on its way down, but the heavy bits that refuse to die hit the water like a lead pipe and sink 2.5 miles down the dark, crushing bottom. Cancelling all that speed to send it to the other direction would take a huge amount of fuel and would be difficult to control, which is why the method has been used since the 1970s. The specific point for Point Nemo was precisely calculated only in 1992. It took a supercomputer to find a place this lonely. I managed to do it just by being myself. So how much stuff do we actually have there right now? There are actually around 300 spacecraft buried at Point Nemo. Even the legendary Russian Mir space station was dropped there in 2001. Just a small 130-ton space station sitting at the bottom of the ocean for the deep-sea creatures to enjoy and explore. And actually, in 2030, they're planning to retire the currently operating ISS there. This thing is the size of a football field, weighing around 3 times more than the Mir space station. When this hits Point Nemo, it's going to be the most expensive cannon bomb in human history. One other weird thing about Point Nemo is that in 1997, researchers recorded a sound coming from the area. The sound was so powerful that it was picked up by sensors over 5,000 kilometers apart. To put that into perspective, a single sound was loud enough to be heard by a microphone in one part of the ocean and another microphone located a distance further than the width of the United States. They called it the bloop. Sounds intimidating, right? It was louder than any blue whale, and here is what it sounded like. The scientists said that it was just icebergs cracking, but I think they just couldn't find another logical reason for it. Another creepy connection to Point Nemo is that in 1928, a horror writer, H.P. Lovecraft, wrote about a sunken city called Rolaya where a giant monster, Kololo, is trapped. The crazy part is that the coordinates he wrote in his story almost matched the exact location of Point Nemo, being just 200 miles off. So yeah, maybe we should find a better way to get rid of our trash before Kololo wakes up with a Russian solar panel stuck in his eye. For the sake of a bucket list, would you ever visit this location? Leave a comment. If you guys found this as interesting as I did, make sure to like and subscribe. Anyway, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.